when I say that this was an ambush to the fifth power, it was. An intervention is not an attack on a person. It is about having that conversation to end the nonsense and to give an ultimatum. What Contessa, Toya, and flip-flopping Simone, let's be real, did was appalling. And you can say whatever you feel about Heavenly, because I know she's not the most favorable person, but right is right. You should have had that sit down with her and let her know what was up. You don't create a fake event when it's really about taking somebody down, because that's what y'all was trying to do. And it backfired. And Heavenly gonna really talk about y'all. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's your girl, Miss Annie. I'm coming to you straight out of NYC on this beautiful Tuesday morning. And it's cool. Finally, I think it's only about 81 degrees. Thank you. No more hot and humid weather. So this episode to me was an eye opener, because I really feel that although Toya is the way she is, she's always been underhanded. Simone flip-flops, but I didn't see Contessa being the way she is. Now, Contessa has been hurt, and rightfully so, with being angry at what Heavenly is doing. But up until the fake intervention, really an ambush session, I really didn't think that she would do this. But what she did was low. Now, I'm going to get into it. So, first I'm going to talk about the basics of the show. So, scene one, we have Dr. Simone and Quad meeting up. And we have these flashback moments, because I do remember everybody saying Quad is always late. Quad is never on time. You got to work on your time management. Quad was following CP time. But the first time in this episode, she comes to an event on time. And you know what I think it really is? I really think that it has to do with the world being different. People changing because of COVID. It's like a lot of people have really turned their bad behaviors around. So things that people were doing before, those bad habits have actually ceased. It's like a new leaf. A lot of people turned a new leaf during COVID, the pandemic. So they purchased, drinks, and Quad orders Simone the sugar Ciroc. So it's a Ciroc that has sugar on the glass. Like I've seen those garnishments when you go to like lounges, clubs, nightclubs, restaurants. It has that. I never tried it before, but I heard it's good. So Quad basically gives Simone the rundown and said, she purchased a new home back in April. And Mason, who moved in with her, as well as her mother, Mary, controls her life. So, Quad is the good time girl. And Quad is now single. So, she thought that she would basically be, independent woman, have her fun, and come home anytime. Oh, no. That little 6-year-old Mason is a man. He controls her, calls her, and tells her what time you going to come home, be on time, and controls her moves. That is a little grown man. And she said he used to sleep with her in the bed, but she had to, check that. Now, I'm going to say something. You have little boys that are like that. They are aggressive. And they will basically do that if there isn't a man in the house. Because he lost his father, it's like his mind went on, I'm the man of the house mode. Because there's no man, Quad doesn't have a husband. So it's like he sees himself as, I'm the man. And it's a natural thing that all boys have when they're living at home with nothing but women. Because it's like, I'm the man. Like, I'm in charge, because it's natural for the man to be in charge of the home because he's the provider. So in his little mind, he's providing a sense of security for Quad. And I think it's cute. The thing with the bed, though, was a little bit kind of off, because it's like, Mason, you are her nephew. You are not her husband, okay? So she had to cut that out because that was a little bit overstepping his bounds. But Quad, keep him on this track, okay? Keep him on that track so that, when he grows up, he can really be that provider for women. And the way you rear him up is going to be reflection on you, and how he treats women is going to be a reflection on you, because now you are the mother and you kind of are the father too. But, well, you're not the father because you're not a man. I don't really believe that, but that's that stupid saying. I'm the mother and the father. So what happens is that Simone shares information about Miles' first girlfriend, Andrea. So she tells Quad, she's Asian. And so Quad pronounces the name Andrea. And so Simone's like, no, you can't drag the Drea. You gotta basically say Andrea. And she's like, listen, her name is Andrea, all right? It's a black girl's name, all right? In the hood, we say Andrea, okay? But this is Miles' very first girlfriend. And she has a really nice vibe to her. So then we get to scene 2, where Toya and Dr. Contessa are talking at Toya's home. She helps her with the flowers. And she says, it's for self-care and everything. And so Contessa's like, if you do self-care for tennis, going on Dubai trips, shopping, and low-key she wanted to say, and spending Eugene's money, how is flowers being self-care? And I agree with that. Toya, I feel, is the ultimate gold digger. I'm sorry. I'm just going to be honest with you. And that man, Eugene, is burned out. And I'm going to get to that because I have some things to say. So she wants Eugene, as in Toya, wants Eugene to find self-happiness. And when they speak about that, Heavenly comes up and she's like, I have issues with how Heavenly said that my husband acts like a man, acts like a woman. And Contessa says, I wouldn't like it if somebody said that about my husband. But the thing is that Heavenly is saying that she likes Eugene. He's a very nice man. She never talks bad about him, other than he allows Toya to basically browbeat him. He's not allowed to be a man. And I agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. I've been saying that since watching the show, watching the episodes from season 2, season 3. Not so much season 1, but season 2 and season 3. So Contessa says that, we gotta stop Heavenly doing this trash talking with all her friends, putting things out on social media and, thinking that it's okay and that it's, all in jest and for entertainment, not realizing that it stays on there forever. And we can all, who are on YouTube, can attest to it, because whatever we say, whether it's good or bad, it stays on there forever unless we pull it down. But with Heavenly having a wider reach audience because she is a media personality, people download it and put it on their other channels. So it pretty much stays and floats around on the World Wide Web. So they basically come up with this, this whole scheme. So Contessa says, let's have an, confrontation, but we're going to really call it an intervention. But we're going to confront her. But it's going to be an intervention. And so she calls Dr. Simone and asks her, would you be willing to, be a part of confronting Heavenly's behavior? And so she's like, listen, I've been dealing with Heavenly for years now. And you can basically confront her about her behavior all you want. But Heavenly says she'll change, but she's not. And that's the truth. Because Heavenly said, I apologize to Toya, but for what? Because I'm going to do the shit again. So Heavenly, Simone is used to it. Jackie doesn't really get the disrespect from Heavenly. Heavenly really respects Dr. Jackie. And so what happens is, Contessa says, we're going to come up with Heavenly's greatest hits. And it will basically be, like a breakdown of all the worst things she's ever said. And Contessa's like, a fake apology, she going to do it again. And so it's an ambush. And Contessa's like, let her know it's an ambush. But we're not going to let her know. And don't tell anyone. So it's going to stay amongst the group. Yeah. So this whole ambushing thing, intervention, it was BS from the beginning. So scene 3, I think, was very informative for all women and even men who are married in a relationship to women and they're pregnant. So there's a young woman who's 37 weeks and 2 days pregnant. And she is a patient of Dr. Jackie's. And what happens is that she has a villous cord insertion. And the cord in the placenta is not directly sitting where it's supposed to be, in the right place. And the placenta is where the baby gets the nourishment. And if it's not positioned properly, it can cause problems for both the mother and the baby. So Jackie basically tells her that the cord has to sit straight. But when it's not straight, and then when this area, that area, and that area, it causes problems. And so the lady says, well, I'm going on maternity leave really soon. So she says to her, in joking way, this is what I want you to do. When you go on maternity leave, I want you to come over and see me and work for me. So it was joking. But she says to her, in all seriousness, if you see any bleeding or like any leakage of like liquid fluid coming out of your system, you let me know. And so she tells the interviewer, as well as the audience, that, well, before that, she tells the woman, you got to advocate for yourself and ask any questions. And she says, Black women are 3 to 5 times more likely during and afterwards to die from childbirth complications more than other women in other groups. Now, I've been hearing this for like the past 10 years. Now, here's the thing. There were women that would die in childbirth. Like, you hear those stories back in the day. This woman died in childbirth. That woman died in childbirth. But because it was the olden days, you would say, well, you didn't have a lot of preventative medicine that would help in that situation. That would prevent, succumbing to childbirth. But now it's more of these physicians don't want to help Black women. That's why it's a high morbidity rate for Black women having children. So this is why they're saying, Black women having children is more dangerous than Black women aborting a baby. Now, I don't think that's the case, but I have been reading stories where professional Black women have been passing away during childbirth. And I think that this is really the racism in the healthcare industry. So, Anelia and Karen tell Araya and Avir that Ms. Gomez is moving to Houston to be with her 2 sons, and she's not coming back. And Avir's like, you're leaving forever? And she's like, yes, but I will always love you. And she's like, I love these children. So Avir's like, who's gonna make pinto beans? Because he loves pinto beans. But Araya, she goes through it. And so she hands Miss Gomez flowers. And then Anil is talking and says, kids are the most vulnerable and valuable possessions. And for us to trust a person who's not a relative with our kids, it speaks a lot. So she was with them for 5 years. And around the time of Ariana was about 2 years old, she became pregnant with Avir. And just the first month, 4 weeks, she let her know, I'm pregnant. And she trusted her. So she tells her, you were so great with us as a family. And if you ever want to come back. But she didn't say you can come back. So we go to the scene with Eugene and Toya. Now, Eugene is burned out. And he says it's from COVID. I think it's more to it than COVID. I think COVID was a catalyst that kicked off him being burned out. But I really think it's also Toya. So he wants to do different types of medicine. Because now he's no longer director of a unit. He does clinicals. And so he needs more hours. And so Toya is like, are you basically choosing to do more hours? Or is it that we need it? He was like, no, we need it because I'm burnt out from doing like our medicine and I love it. Toya is the ultimate gold digging woman. And so he's like, the ER was tough and it was like changes. I need change because after COVID, I got burned out and I had to leave traditional medicine. And he said, I went, just like other physicians, we into this fight or flight mode. And we basically was, fighting. And so this one woman that he treated had COVID. And he had double mask, PP, protection gear. But still, she got in his face. And he basically was like, I'm trying to help this woman. But I also had to help myself because I didn't want to get COVID. So he basically was like, the retirement plan originally was for 65. Now it's 55. Now I'm like thinking about 45. So now we learn that Eugene is probably maybe 43 years old. Now I do know that he's younger than Toya by 2 years. So Toya is not really feeling it because, it's going to cut her money. So he's like, how people say they're going to diversify their, financial portfolio? Well, I'm going to diversify my work portfolio. So he said that a lot of physicians left traditional medicine after COVID because they got burned out. And that's true. That's not a lie. You had a lot of nurses that left because they got burned out. It got into their psyches. And it's just real sad because it didn't have to happen. It really didn't. So they end up meeting with, and they are Simone and Cecil. And they go to this place called Fruity. And so they're meeting up with the OG of, I have to say controversy, but you could say media, you could say politic punditry, but I have to say the OG of American reality TV, none other than the infamous Omarosa Manigault. Okay? So Omarosa and Dr. Simone have been friends for years. And Cecil and Omarosa have been friends as well. And they're meeting up with her to get advice on their relationship book. So Omarosa is a best-selling author. She got $1 million book deal, and her book made it on the New York Times bestsellers list. And they said she's the best person to consult, which I agree with. But they said there was a time when the whole Trump thing happened that you could hear a pin drop if someone said the name Omarosa. They've known her for years before she even worked at the White House. But Cecil said, we don't cut off our friends for their political affiliation. And I agree with that to an extent. Now, with Omarosa worked in the house, in the White House. She really got him a lot of black votes. But Omarosa never advocated for the destruction of black people, nor cooned. Okay? She didn't do things like Ben Carson. And she called out Ben Carson. She called him out. And the fallout of her in the White House was because she didn't like the open racism that was going on. And she said that didn't come from Trump. That came from the people around him, particularly Roger Stone. And they didn't like her because she wasn't a Jeffin Negro, meaning that she talked back. Because that's Omarosa. But, she says to them, I want to, talk to your nephew, see how he's doing. So she speaks to Michael. And they have this relationship. Like, she's really a friend of the family. And what happens is they basically discuss how they had a spat over the book. Because in the beginning, it was just going to be Simone involved. But then Cecil basically wanted to join. She didn't want to be part of it. But then she realized if it's going to be an authentic relationship book, it has to be both of us as co-authors. So they basically say, what is your advice? Because we could talk about the 1 year itch, the 5, 10, 15, 20 year itches, 25 year itches. So Simone's like, there's a lot of itches. So they were both coming from divorced families. He from Los Angeles, and I know Simone is from Tennessee. And so Omarosa says, incorporate that in your book. And she says, how many times do you plan on spending writing the book? So Simone, like 2 hours per day. Cecil's like 4. And she said, I would say 4. And so Cecil's like, I'm just going to split mine in half in a day. 2, like in the morning, and 2, in the afternoon or evening. So she's like, I'm agree. If you really want this book to be successful, you have to commit to 4 hours. And I agree with that because it's like a job, Being an author, being a writer, it's a job. You have to do research, even on stuff that you're doing about you. You have to research. You have to get, documents, photos, speaking to family about, how the divorce, in this sense, they're children of divorce. How did it affect them as a family? Because let's be real. Many years ago, those things happened. You have to go back and collect those memories. Also, you got to do canvassing, talk to other people about their relationships, marriage in particular. What's it like for them? What have been their ups and downs? So Omarosa was the best person to discuss. And by the way, Omarosa is in year 2 of law school. She's going to Southern University Law Center. Okay? So now we get to the mess of mess. And Contessa says that I'm wearing this wig that I got from Heavenly Beauty because this is my inner storm. Because, I'm a Gemini and I'm going to let them see this other side of me. So she says this is an intervention, but in parentheses, an ambush, because nobody's going to even know why they're coming. Not just Heavenly, but Quad, Dr. Jackie, and Anila. So Toya is really in on it. So she's like, let the intervention begin. So Simone comes by, and they're basically like, what's the goal for all of this? And Toya's like, the whole thing is basically let her know the negative things you have said about us on your blogs through the years, it's not cool. And we just want it to stop. And Simone's like, but if you tell her she's not going to apologize, she's going to do it again. So to Simone, it's like, I get what you're doing because it does need to stop, but it's like Heavenly ain't gonna stop. And even Simone said, with how you're doing this, she's really not gonna stop. So they said they're gonna drink Heavenly Crown because Heavenly has a thing for Crown and Coke. So Toya says you have to put your phone in the bucket because we can't have people to record and know what's going on, or and I'm like, Toya, people got families, people have jobs, what the hell are you doing? So Anila comes in and they tell her, oh, you got to put your phone in the bucket. This is Toya. And Anila's like, well, okay, but why? She's like, because you just have to. And so Anila right away is like, this sounds really shady. And she's like, but how come your phones aren't in the bucket? And Toya said, you'll see why it's not. She's like, but it doesn't make sense. Anila's smart. I like Anila. I really do. So then Quad comes in and Toya tells her the same thing about put your phone in the bucket. And she's like, nah. So then Toya said, then you got to leave. So Toya tells Contessa and Simone, I told Quad that she couldn't come in the house because she refused to put her phone in the bucket. And Simone runs out and said, no, you're not. So Quad comes in and Quad is feeling like this is some type of scheme. I know it. I know y'all. I've been around y'all ladies for years. When y'all doing stuff like this, it's a scheme. So what ends up happening is that they get her to return and she comes back. And then Jackie is told by Toya, you got to place your phone in a pink bucket. And she was like, I could put my phone on the table, but it can't be in the bucket because I got to hear people calling me. Remember, I'm an MD. And so she basically said, I'm a real MD, not an MRS MD. I'm on call all the time. And she's like, I need my phone so that I can basically voluntarily lift it, like if somebody is, calling me. So Jackie, being a Leo, was like, no, I'm going to leave because I ain't got no time for this. So Toya's like, Jackie chose to leave and not come in because she wouldn't put her phone in the bucket. So Simone runs out and gets Jackie. And Simone says in the confessionals, we can't have Toya answer the phone, answer the door, because Toya don't know what she's doing. And I agree. But see, Toya is spiteful. See, Anila and Toya are two different types of Aries. Anila is a fun, sharing type of Aries. She's not competitive unless she's playing sports. But Toya is one of those underhanded, grimy Aries that she want to be the top dog. And she's only the top dog when it comes to Eugene. Eugene's the only one she can boss around and the kids. She's not good at basically being the top dog and the leader and anything else, if you really think about it, which is really embarrassing being an Aries. She's cruel to her friends, more cruel than Heavenly, if you ask me, because when we saw how she was with Anila last season, call her, you sound stupid, shut up, nobody was talking to you. Heavenly has never done that, but Toya has. So anyway, Contessa stands up and says, this event is going to be like a movie. So we're going to watch Heavenly's greatest hits. But this is more going to be like the show Intervention, because as a doctor, you'll see addiction medicine take place. And what will happen is the person who is doing the mistreatment is being enabled to do the mistreatment because they're being allowed to. So because they're being allowed to, you can't hold them accountable. So this is like that, intervention. And we must let Heavenly know the truth. So Heavenly walks in and she thinks it's going to be a movie night, like, hey, y'all, hey. And so happy and everything. And I'm like, Contessa, you gave that speech to your husband, Scott? The last 2 years? When you thought he was cheating? Don't just give it to Heavenly, give it to Scott. So anyway, what happens is they watch the movie. And Anila and Quad, they're not feeling the ambush, nor is Jackie, but they stay. So they watch Heavenly's Greatest Hits, which is a compilation of her YouTube channel insults towards the cast. First, she talked about Quad and Toya. Like, I don't know why they need to be done up. Like, they look like other regular women. Like, without that makeup, they just ordinary. Okay. Then you see her talking about Contessa and her marriage to Scott and everything. Then she basically talked about Quad with Anila, and Quad, and I knew this was going to come back up. And so this is like, Quad is, she done up and, she sleep with married men, they say. And so Anila, like, it looked like there's fillers in her face. And Quad turns around and tells her, bitch, I don't wear fillers. I'm the youngest one in the group, and I'm the prettiest one in the group, all right? Okay, now check that. So Anila got checked. Then she talked about Anila, Heavenly, and Heavenly said about Anila, I think she dumb. I don't even think the bitch got a graduate degree. And Anila's like, oh God. Then she talked about Curtis, and Jackie is watching her say, Curtis had a whole bunch of young ass shaking up in his face throughout the marriage. You can't even count how much ass he had shook in his face. And so Jackie is feeling uncomfortable, but Jackie, she went through it with Curtis. So, she's basically, she cool on it. And so Quad is taking notes because Quad is the investigator of the group going back to season 2 and season 3. All right. Then, because she will get PIs to basically handle you. Then she talked about Simone being a flip-flopper. Then she went back to Contessa and was like, if Contessa want to be in this marriage, she want to be in the marriage. Like, if he gonna do what he do to you, he gonna do what he can do. So then she's like, okay. Now, mind you, Heavenly was laughing throughout the convention. But something she said was interesting. She said, wait a minute. You mean to tell me you brought me here for this shit? Y'all could have basically called me on the phone. And she was like, really? Contessa, like, really? You're mad at that? When you talked about us on your channel, you could have called us. You're the one that went online, putting our business out there like that. She said, and you had the audacity to think that we should have called you? Oh, no. And so they get into it, girl, hot and heavy. And Contessa is like, I will never tell any important business to ever again. And you supposed to be my friend. And Heavenly is like, listen, we could talk this out. It's just a channel. I'm not doing it to be malicious. I love all you ladies. And Quad is like, And Anila, even though she was insulted, Anila said, this is not right. You don't ambush somebody like that. Like, if you want to talk to somebody, you talk to them. I agree. And Quad is like, listen here. You think that she going to stop with what y'all just did? She going to go even harder. And so Flippity Flop Simone is basically trying to be like, I didn't have nothing to do with this. Yes, you did. You knew about it. And you the one that told Contessa she ain't going to stop. But guess who was careful to not say a word? Toya. Trifling Toya. Because she went in on Toya and said, Toya, you the biggest gold digging bitch. Okay? Like, you didn't work hard to get Eugene. You a lucky bitch. And she's right when it comes to you. You didn't say anything. You got mad, but you didn't say anything. So, Contessa's like, I don't want to be your friend no more. I don't want to be your friend. And Heavenly really was feeling bad. And she's like, get off of me. Get off of me. Get off of me. And she was like, listen, this is what Heavenly said. If the advice I give to you, if you don't want to be my friend anymore, and the advice I give to you on my channel helps you and Scott's marriage, then I'm fine with it. I'm happy. I'm happy for you. I'm not going to beg for your friendship. But my thing is, you haven't called me in 5 months. And now you bring this to the whole circle. Okay? You could have called me and said how you felt. And I agree. Now, here's the thing. a lot of people are going to side with Contessa because they're going to be like, why are you putting our business out on YouTube? But here's the gap. They're on a show putting their business out on Bravo. So what Heavenly is doing, what she's always done, has been reviewing the episodes. Nobody had a problem with her YouTube channel until Contessa got upset because Heavenly rightfully said, I believe that he abuses her emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Because we saw how when at the reunion, when Scott walked in, she did that shake. She was afraid. Not like he was going to hit her, but she was afraid of what he would say about her. She had a breakdown. Also, if you remember the scene with the girl's number, basically, they supposed to do something as a family. This is last year. And so she's like, this number that you have, like, are you cheating on me with her? And he was like, I'm not going to answer that. And not knowing put a strain on Contessa, and she told Heavenly her business. So Heavenly talked about what was in terms of the show. Heavenly never talked about their secret conversations because I've watched her channel. It's always within the show. Now, here's the thing. I do agree with them, saying, if we're going to all be friends, the way you talk about us is a problem. Because you're talking about us as though you're not a friend, as though you're being mean-spirited about it. That I agree with. But that's Heavenly. That's Heavenly. And y'all not going to kick Heavenly out because Heavenly keep the show going. And Toya, this is your only job. Jackie's good. Simone's good. I don't know about Quad. But you need this. And even Contessa's good. But the thing is that you ambushed her. You wanted to take Heavenly out. This was a mess. And Anila is really seeing that Toya is a shady chick. And Simone is a flip-flopper. And Heavenly checked her and said, you knew what was going on. You knew. Y'all plotted this. You, Contessa, and Toya, y'all plotted this. And Simone said, I didn't know any such thing. I just knew about you. No, Simone, you a flip-flopper. And Heavenly checked them. And Heavenly really going to go in. And I can't wait to see it. Because let me tell you something. Toya stressed that man out hardcore. Okay? Got him to buy one house and got him to buy another one. She's had 3 houses since on the show. Everybody else, except for Jackie, has had the same house. And Quad. Because Quad moved out and got the townhouse. And then she got the house because she was bringing in her nephew and her mother. Okay? But Toya, you don't contribute a damn thing in that marriage like that. Except for being a mom and being a gold digger wife. And you know who spotted you real good and knew your works? The Puerto Rican princess in season 7. When you basically was trying to be, all like spiffy and look down on her. And she said, bitch, I will mop the floor of you. Don't play with me because I know your type. You was a fake ass bitch. You was a fraud. And Buffy didn't tell her anything about Toya because Buffy didn't know Toya. And Toya's like, go get your friend, Buffy. Get your friend. And she was like, she don't have to get me. And so Buffy's like, just calm down. And then, the other ladies liked Jocelyn Hernandez. But Jocelyn took one look at Toya and said, you's a fake ass hoe. Because, let's be real. Jocelyn know the game. And game recognizes game. But this game that they pulled on Heavenly is going to backfire. Not so much on Simone, but on Contessa and Toya. But see, Contessa, you let Toya put the battery in your back for this. Because really, you don't dislike Heavenly. You like Heavenly. Okay? But Toya has never liked Heavenly being on that show. because Heavenly got her own money. And it's the reminder every day when Heavenly tells her about herself, it's the reminder that you ain't shit, bitch. I am. I may not be pretty like you. I may have had weight problems. I may not have the cutest husband. Neither do you. But I got my own. I got a graduate degree. I got a professional degree. Summa cum laude. And I got 3 businesses. All right? You milking Eugene and making him own. He's burned out. Not so much because of COVID. Because all the doctors working in COVID. But Damon ain't burned out. Kieran ain't burned out. Who else? Jackie, Simone, Contessa, and Scott ain't burned out like that. Who else did I name? I don't think I named anything else. But you burned out because of your wife. Don't put that shit on me. And I can't wait for it to be continued. The second part of this. But Anila ain't gonna like Toya. Jackie. Quad know the deal. Quad know about Toya. But she looking at Contessa different. And with that being said, I'm signing off. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe to this channel. And hit the notification bell to receive future notices on various uploads that I post on my channel. Like, share, and subscribe. And I'll be back later on today. Later.